Well, indeed, thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to you too, Sarah. We are following up a discussion on the interest rate capping. Now, this is a debate that is expected to be debated in Parliament today in the afternoon. Remember, the President was given the finance bill to sign, but because of the issue of the rate cap, he had to send a memorandum back to Parliament for them to have a look at the entire bill, and specifically to do away with the interest rate capping law. Now, remember, the interest rate capping law has been in place since 2016, around September 2016, just trying to ensure that no banks will be able to charge more than 4% above the CBR rate. And this has caused a lot of friction there, with a section of the SMEs saying that this has taken away the credit that they were able to access. However, banks have insisted that they need the leeway to be able to risk-based price in terms of who they give loans and what kind of risk they're looking at. And saying that the interest rate capping law, since its introduction in 2016, has taken that power away from them. And just to speak to me about this, I'm joined by Dennis, who is a player in the, who's a small-scale businessman in the country, and just a player in the sector, to be able to tell us some of the frustration that they have received since the introduction of the interest rate capping. Dennis, thank you so much for speaking to us. Maybe one of the things that we need to understand, we've seen a lot of SMEs, much as they say they do not want, they cannot be able to access loans, they're still saying we would want the interest rate caps to remain. Is this the case that you are seeing, or what has been your experience?
So the truth of the matter is that we have to define what is accessibility and who is preventing who from accessing what. Okay. So when the interest cap came into play, there was a surge by the SME sector to go to the banks and borrow. But then immediately that access was suppressed, not by the government, but by the banks. So, and what happens with a lot of SMEs is that they don't have the needed securities that the bank will ask for. There's an intentional disposition by the banks to make sure that they profile SMEs in a particular way. But why is this so? Because their biggest customer now is the government that is borrowing at exponential rates of 9%. A lot of these dynamics that the bank is complaining up, the fact is that one of the things that we have to establish that they're making money because they have increased their charges on what it is that we call non-interest income. Commission rates and everything of the sort have become much more expensive now, so they're still retaining their profits.
In terms of removal of these caps, do you see a scenario where now SMEs will be able to access credit more frequently and more easily?
This is a situation, and I'll give you a very simple business model. So if you borrow a high loans, from a high interest rate, is that what happens is that eats into your margins. With the way the economy is, jobs that we used to get for 5 million, the customer is saying, take it or leave it, I'm going to give you 1 million. So you find that your margins have come all the way down from 30–40% to a mere 5%. You understand? Yet you're paying a loan at 23, 25, even sometimes 38%. So it's untenable. It doesn't make any economic sense. So the capped interest rates for us, it means that you can retain your margins and your business can float. And we are the largest employers in the country at the end of the day, the SME sector. It drives 60% of the economy. So when you hurt the SME, unfortunately, unintentionally, unintelligently, then you wound the economy of this country.
All right, now going forward, would you prefer the rates being in place, or what is the way forward for SMEs? Do we do away with them and let banks have a field day, or do we retain the caps?
Retain the caps. Retain the caps. Tame the appetite of the government. You understand? Cap on deficits. We don't need a 4 trillion, 3 trillion, whatever that there is on budgets. The deficits are causing the government to borrow exponentially from the local markets. And again, corruption. We know who the bankers are at the end of the day. Why would you borrow at 9%, yet the World Bank is giving you concessional loans at a mere 1%? So there's a mix of bad manners, and there's a mix of a dangerous environment that the SMEs are dying. Many businesses are closing down. And the banks need to stop causing fake capital flight. We know them, and I'm asking everybody in this country to call your parliamentarian and tell them not to support the repealing. the caps must be retained and we must medicate the rest of the other things.
Indeed, thank you very much, Dennis, for speaking to us. And as far as you have had it right there, the clarion call is to retain the interest rate capping law just to ensure that banks continue behaving, as well as reducing the government's appetite in terms of getting loans from the local market. And we'll be looking at this. Remember, one of the other things that MP Jude Njomo, who is the one who introduced the interest rate capping law in the country, one of the things that he has said is the fact that should banks start misbehaving and lending at proportional rates, that they will revisit this case and make sure that banks are tamed as it should be. But for now, back to you, we'll be giving you more updates in our subsequent bulletins.